Shalom. Uh, it's Saturday night, and it's been a while since I put up a video last, but that doesn't mean I've ever stopped researching or searching things up. In fact, it's the complete opposite. I've had time, and I've ordered a new book, 2 new books, since I've put up a new video, or since I put up the last video, and I've gotten a lot more information downloaded and done a lot more researching, and a lot more things have been connected. All praises to the Most High. But this is going to be about stories of the Talmud, a story about the Talmud that I was looking up, and it's not specifically a story in it. We're going to get to that with the book I just got, Reimagining the Bible. And here the book is. It's by Howard Schwartz, Reimagining the Bible, the Storytelling of Rabbis. Shout out to Abdullah Seer. In one of his videos, he referenced this book, and I was like, I gotta get this. But a lot of stuff has been happening with the whole Kanye incident and the synagogue of Satan. And now yesterday I saw something on Kyrie's Instagram where he was sharing things about the book, or I guess a video, Hebrews to Negroes. And immediately that pissed off a bunch of people. And the synagogue of Satan, Revelation 2 and 9. Let me get it for you. Revelation verse 2, verse 9. And I know thy works in tribulation and in poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them who are which say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And these people, we've been in a hardcore wake up for the last, I would say definitely for the last 3 years. And we've known since 2020, things have not gotten easier for them. They knew that we were going to wake up. They definitely knew that we were going to wake up. And I feel like this is the last wake up call for a lot of Israelites. And after this, the righteous will be sealed. Like, there's going to be no more. The door will be shut into getting into this walk. And a lot of you who have made covenants and deals with the wicked and the unrighteous and the other Psalms 83 confederation, is going to come back on you, and it's going to be too late for you really to get the understanding that the Most High has been trying to give you. He's called so many, but in the scriptures, as it says, many of the seeds that were scattered, and many of the seeds that were put into the wind, and the wind blew the seeds around. A lot of the seeds did not find places to actually become fruitful and grow. A lot of them fell upon rocks, fell onto pavement, so to say, or fell into places that were unhospitable for these seeds to ever flourish. And very few of them fell onto fresh soil where they grew and were cultivated. But with that being said, I want to read a story, a funny story, something short, about an article I found. Again, of course, we're in the what's it called? We're in the archives here. We're doing a video on chronicling America, and I typed in Talmud legends of the Torah, Jewish folklore, and stuff like that. Because remember, this stuff is not theirs. This stuff is ours, but it's just rebranded as theirs. And they take old books or old writings that they find of ours, and then they just bring it out for themselves, translate it, bring it out for themselves, and say that some rabbi discovered it, or this has always been theirs, when we know that's simply not the truth. But this is something quick. So let me start with it. It's called "The Men of the Talmud also associated the patriarch Jacob with Sukkoth, Succoth. Some of the authorities say that Jacob was the first man to observe Sukkoth. One need not to be rich in fantasy to find appropriate links for this choice. Of the three, and you're going to find that, especially with this book that I'm reading, the Reimagining the Bible, Stories of the Storytelling of the Rabbis, it links up with the scriptures, and it goes into more depth. And a lot of Jewish quote-unquote folklore, like in this book I'm reading, the myths and folklores are not based upon lies. A lot of the time they're based upon truth. And just because something says it's a myth does not mean that it's automatically associated with fantasy or inaccuracy. So let's continue. The fantasy to find appropriate links for this choice. Of the three patriarchs, That would be Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. None seemed to come to life so much as Jacob. That's right. Jacob is very important. Jacob is very special. I remember reading in another thing that it was saying that Jacob seemed to be almost blameless, or like blemish. He had no blemishes. He was like almost perfect in a way. But let's keep on reading this article. We're gonna get to the bottom, and you're gonna laugh at this story. One need to be let's see, we already read that. Patriarchs, none seem to come to life so much as Jacob. In Abraham and Isaac, we see patterns of almost pure perfection. They are saintly men, blessed men. The earthly quality is not visible in them. What there is has been subdued by their higher instincts. They are perhaps a little too ideal for most of us. In Jacob, we see both good and evil. The man's life is beset by conflicts, which most of us experience in life. So, in a sense, we feel closer to Jacob. We can scarcely think of Jacob. Without thinking of Esau, this brother and his nemesis. The great Jewish philosopher Solomon Maimon, in his autobiography, recalls how as a child his father told him that Jacob and Esau had been presented with the choice of this world and the world to come. And Jacob selected the world to come, and Esau took this world. Now, and when they were young, it says, so this could be another story of the Talmud or legend where we didn't get this in the scriptures, or where they're young, the prophecy, like with what their mother got when both Jacob and Esau were in her womb fighting. They knew that what was going on then. So when they were younger, I guarantee you some things or some prophetic visions or choices came to them to kind of signify and to predict what was going to happen in the future and what was going on, because we know that Jacob just didn't choose. It wasn't like, all right, we're going to flip a coin, or, hey, I got two things for you, the world to come and this world. What do you guys want? Esau, what do you want? Jacob, what do you want? No, Jacob was chosen for the world to come. He was wanted by the Most High for the world to come. It was always his. It was always going to be his. Every way, always, it was always going to be Jacob's, the world to come. So, and we have that here. Let me get to the book of Second Esdras. And it says, then I answered, and this is Second Esdras 6 verse 7. Then I answered and I said, what shall be the partings asunder of times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, the end of this current world, the end of the world of suffering, of sin, the end of this worldly probation that we're sent down here and to experience what suffering and pain is, and all these awful things, so that we can inherit and we can remember who we are and pass our probation and be found worthy to gain the world that comes after, the world where there's no suffering, the world that there's no pain, the world of everlasting celestial glory and joy that belongs to Jacob. For Esau is the end of this current world of suffering, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question as just asked, and it keeps on going. So let me keep on reading this, now that we know who inherited this world and why they inherited this world and who gets the next. So the great Jewish philosopher Solomon Maimon, in his autobiography, recalled how as a child his father told him that Jacob and Esau had been presented with a choice of this world and the world to come, and Jacob selected the world to come while Esau took this world. At this, young Maimon blurted out, Jacob was a fool. He should have accepted this world. Maimon's father simply slapped his son's face. Now, doesn't that speak volumes right there about who the synagogue of Satan is? Revelation 2:9, the verse I just read. Immediately, his son, the son of this Jewish philosopher, said, "Oh, it was his instinct to say, well, that's silly. Jacob should have chose this world. We want this world. This world's the best world." Not even knowing what the world to come is, and his father slapped him in his face. There's a Jewish philosopher to slap his son in his face, because I think deep down inside, spiritually, that was just the Most High working and saying, insulting them to his face, saying, "You're not the real people. You're out, and this is who you naturally are, and this is what you're naturally going to be inclined to." Now, I could end the article here. In fact, I probably will, but we'll finish reading it because why the heck not? Jacob was an introvert. Esau was an extrovert. Jacob was the man who was always having dreams, the quiet man. And we know that his sons, especially Joseph, was very, very talented and was blessed to be able to interpret dreams. And if we get into this reimagining the storytelling of reimagining the Bible's storytelling of the rabbis, we're going to get into how Joseph was able to interpret these dreams. And if you haven't read the book of Jasher, I suggest you go read it, because it goes into a lot of what the 12 sons of Jacob were doing and done, and their powers and their abilities. Yes, the 12 sons of Jacob were super powered, including Jacob himself. These people were taking down whole entire cities, just especially Judah, the king. He was incredible, and the brothers were incredible, and these people can scream and shake entire walls, and they were yelling and had whole entire cities in fear of them, boarding up their things. They were legends, saying, "Oh, the sons of Jacob are the Hebrews, quote unquote, are coming. The sons of Jacob are outside of our city, and we need to get everybody to fight." And the whole city would come at them, and they would just take them out easily, jumping over walls. It says they were just backing up and running and jumping over entire ravines and ledges, jumping on top of walls, jumping off of walls, throwing men, destroying whole entire cities, killing hundreds of men at a time. These people were super powered. So Jacob was an introvert and Esau was an extrovert, which makes sense. Extroverts will do anything and do everything to please people and to always be the center of attention, and they're just usually so focused on everything else that they don't have time to sit down and focus on what really matters. And when they do, they're not really happy with it, and they can't really do it for that long. They tend to not be able to focus on themselves when they're by themselves. That's just my observation of extrovert and introverts, because I'm an extreme introvert, and almost to a fault, if that's a thing. Jacob was a man who was always having dreams, a quiet man who the Bible says sat in the tents, and Esau was a wild game hunter who had no reason to dream because of all of his wishes were fulfilled. Is that not what's going on with Esau now? Let's talk about this. What is the Gentiles' heaven? Their heaven is what they're going through right now. Their heaven, what Esau was blessing, was when Jacob took the blessing of the world to come, Esau cried to his father, "What am I going to get? Give me something. I need a gift too. What is my blessing?" His blessing is this world, the fatness, the fruit of the land, and the sword. That Esau was going to inherit his blessing through bloodshed, and that for a certain period of time he would rule over his brother, Jacob. Jacob's world is the world to come. It's the world without suffering. It's the celestial world. It's the world of extreme powers. It's the world of things that you've never even dreamt about. They're endless worlds, technically. And Esau's world is what's going on here, the world that he made for himself. The nature that he destroyed, the lands that he's conquered, the people that he's brought down, the money system that he created with his partner Lucifer and Satan and Leviathan and Behemoth and all these other wicked demons that he's made deals with, who he's been tricked by. You remember, Esau had the choice to love. Esau had the choice to be better and to not invade his brother, to not cut his brother off, as you can go reading the book of Obadiah of what Esau and the Edomites are in trouble for. So let's finish up this article. had no reason to dream because all of his Esau was the wild game hunter who had no reason to dream because all of his wishes were fulfilled. We have an almost complete enough case history of Jacob to satisfy even the psychoanalysts who insist on the prenatal history of the case. The Bible tells that Rebekah's pregnancy was very difficult and that she was told this because there was two conflicting nations struggling in her womb, like I said before. Now, this is another interesting part of this. That's why I said we're going to finish up the story and not just end it with the the Jewish philosopher slapping his son's face when he called Jacob stupid or foolish for not choosing this current world. The legends of the Talmud enlarge upon this. They say that at this period when Rebekah passed a pagan idolatrous house of worship, Esau's embryo would cry out. And when she passed a synagogue or a temple, because they're calling it a synagogue, don't get it Daja hijack here. Like I said, they try to fit themselves in with their own what they have. So when Rebekah would pass an idolatrous pagan house or some pagan temple, Esau's embryo would cry out. And when she passed a synagogue or a temple or some place that had the Most High Spirit on it or the Shekinah Spirit on it, Jacob would make a move. Esau's conduct in the Bible relates the story, seems the more exemplary until we read beneath. And then that's where the article ends. So with that being said, we know who's who, and you can tell who's who by the Spirit. And right now they're working as hard as they can to stop this awakening, and the Most High is using people to do this. And he can use celebrities. I know a lot of people want to say, oh, well, Kanye's a sellout. So is Kyrie Irving at the end of the day. They took the bag from Lucifer. They're bought and paid for by the white man, and they've played in this system for so long, and they've been part of this system for so long. How do we know it's not just a distraction? How do we know it's not this? We don't need them to tell us that we're the Israelites. We've known this. Yes, but believe it or not, 2/3 of our nation are still not going to listen. You think it's so obvious. You've been blessed by the Most High. You should be praising the Most High that he woke you up. But instead, you're bashing your brother and sister instead of having a spirit of love for them and patience with them and saying, yes, this is frustrating that a lot of black people can't see what's going on, that a lot of so-called Negroes, 2/3 Negroes, just can't seem to put two and two together and say, oh my goodness, we've been tricked this whole time. I was fortunate enough to, when I came in this, to see it immediately I was almost sick to my stomach. I can't even tell you the emotions and the frustration and the anger I had to work on and the hate I had to work on conquering for all these other nations. Even to this day, I live in Miami. Do you know how many Jews I see down here? Do you know how many Amalekites, how many Khazars I see down here on a daily? In the morning at fucking 7 a.m., I look over. I'm fortunate enough to have a beautiful job where I work on the beach. And I look over and I see a whole fucking herd of them, of pink little people, bowing up and down, nodding their heads, muttering things. And it just frustrates me. I see their little curls on their side of the head imitating dreads. And it's just like, oh my God. Like, it's just... And I pray. The funny thing is, the last 2 months I've been praying so hard for the tribe of Amalek to be exposed because I see them every day and it frustrates me. The looks they give you, the way they walk around Miami Beach like this place is gonna be theirs forever. All the money that they have all their little Jewish community centers everywhere, their little gated off communities or gated off hospitals. It makes me sick to my stomach. Same with all the other nations that are on the Indian Creek in Miami Beach, walking around like this place is theirs. And I pray every morning, I pray every day, destroy our enemies, expose our enemies, bring our enemies down, increase our nation. And it's happening. And people like Kanye and Kyrie can be used. Whether they're 2/3 or not, whether it's too late for them, it could be a double-edged sword. We don't know that the Most High is exposing these things and saying, okay, I'm going to use two famous people because a lot of people are not listening. You should be happy at this point, because if this type of exposure is going on at this level, 2 in a row, like boom, boom, first Kanye and now Kyrie, you should know that the Most High is saying that it's still not too late, that there's still people that need to be part of the remnant. The remnant is not all here. The 144 is not sealed yet, and there's still some people that need to be pulled up and pulled out of this deception. So I'm using 2/3 musicians and famous athletes that seem to be have a spell put over our nation. So these are the only type of people that a lot of us want to listen to. Well, I'm going to use them. I'm going to use Kanye because Kanye is probably the most influential black man outside of Barack Obama and Michael Jordan. Like he's and even to the Gentiles, he's extremely influential. White people are, whether they either love to hate him or love to love him, and him coming out and saying this stuff shook a lot of people. And there's a lot of people that know this, and I truly believe that a lot of Gentiles, a lot more white people know this and that they like to put on, and it's their job. Because remember, these people made contracts a long time ago that they would never ever, we're supposed to be destroyed right now. They made contracts that they would never ever come out and talk about who we were and even come close. They would rather die a million times than even admit that we might be the Jews of the Bible, that we might be the tribes of the sons and daughters of Jacob, the daughters of Zion, the sons of Jacob. So with this being said, there's a lot more things I want to talk about, but let me read something from the sealed portion that goes along with the tribe, these wicked Edomites, these wicked Psalms 83 confederation, the certain you-know-whos that Saul was supposed to destroy a long time ago, and he didn't. And the Most High said they're going to be a thorn in our side, and they've been a thorn in the side of humanity. The people that dude with a little mustache and that used to put his hand up in the air like he was asking the teacher a question to his nation. We know who we're talking about, Mr. Al-Dafi here. Al-Dafi, I'm just going to say Adolf Hitler. We know who we're talking about here. We know that he came out and he said the same thing. World War III is going to start because who's going to wake up? The black people in America, God's jewels, the Most High's precious jewels. So let me read something from the sealed portion here. This is chapter 24, verse 93. And many of you believe in your hearts that you belong to the church of the Lamb of God. Those are the Psalms 83 Confederation and their Christian churches and the synagogue of Satan and the Catholic Church and the Muslims. And that many of you believe that in your hearts that you belong to the church of the Lamb of God, and that your neighbor belongeth to the church of the devil. But I say unto you that ye all belongeth to the church of the devil, and this is because of your works. For ye do the works of the devil, and have the desires of his church. Are not gold and silver, and the silks and the scarlets, and the fine twined linen, and the precious clothing, the desires of your church? And are ye not constantly engaged in acquiring of these things? Think of synagogues. Like I said, you can't, unless you're part of them, you can't even walk onto the property. They have gated communities around their synagogues. I don't know if you've ever seen a synagogue down here in Miami or their little Jewish learning centers, but they're guarded off. They're covered in extravagant. They're in the best neighborhoods. They have the nicest things. They have the newest carpets. They're never going to have a broken air conditioner, a broken projector. They're going to have laptops. They're going to have the finest technology spewing out their lies. And your temples and your churches, are they not made from the fine things of this world? Is that not what Kanye's whole point was? Was that the Jews control everything? They do. And it's being so obvious. It's so obvious that they do. And they get so upset when you bring it up. Like, you Jews control a lot of the entertainment system. You control a lot of the medical field. You control the law and a lot of the judicial system. You fund a lot of politicians, and you've been accused of funding a lot of wars, and we know that they've been kicked out of over 110 countries, and they have a lot of beef against them. And their whole thing is that the rest of the world hates them because they're God's chosen people. And then now the rest of the world is now saying, no, we don't hate you because you're God's chosen people. We hate you because you've stolen the title of God's chosen people. You meddle with money. You play you work crafty counsel in our nations. You set up communism, and you set up wicked ass systems in other nations, and when you set up, you start taking over. That's your main goal, is whenever you enter a country, is you set up to take over through crafty counsel. And now the whole rest of the world has come together and is pointing the finger at you, and because you work for Satan, you're able to switch it around and protect yourselves. But that's not happening anymore. So all praises to the Most High. We're all waking up. Kanye and Kyrie Irving, they're being used for a specific purpose, whether they're going to make it into the kingdom or not, or whether they're going to receive any grace. The Most High knows what's in our heart, and he knows what's in Kanye's and Kyrie's heart. So maybe he looked at the field of black entertainers, and he saw that these were the only two that were even willing to even kind of come out and say something, because in their hearts this is what they've been thinking about and this is what they've been feeling. A lot of black entertainers are looking at what we're talking about. We know that white people are watching us on our internet usage, and they're watching the growth of the Israelites, and they're scared. So a lot of black entertainers are watching what's going on and listening to the streets and listening to the teachers, whether it be the camps or whether it be the Big Judas or Abdullah Sears, and they're saying this is the truth. I've been told this I've known about this, and this is one of the Masonic secrets that we learn about, that we're privy to know about. But we know if we come out and say anything on a big scale, they're gonna kill us for it, or they're gonna take away everything we have. And they're now saying, I want out of the entertainment system. I want out of my contract with Lucifer. I want my soul back. Forgive me for all the dirty, nasty, disgusting, secret things I did to get into this industry. I don't want to do this stuff anymore. And I'm going to come out and I'm going to speak the truth. But is it too late? Maybe. I pray that the Most High gives grace to Kyrie Irving and Kanye West, and he's used